I'm not going to worry about it because at the end of the day, it's got to get resolved on the field.
Pop, what's going on, man?
Son, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Needed some rest off that mini bye. Feeling good, fired up, ready to get back into it. Guys, welcome back to the Diamond Pop Podcast. You know the drill. Today is our Cowboys pregame podcast. Don't forget, stay tuned. We got our Bada Bets coming, second half of the episode. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, comment. Let us know why you're not enjoying it or what you want to hear different. We might listen, we might not. But that comment helps us out either way. Don't forget, most importantly, hit that subscribe button. We're approaching 700 subscribers. We would love to get there as soon as possible. Guys, how's everybody feeling, man? Where's the vibe check? You already know that's how we're going to start this thing off. Commanders are 7-4. Jaden Daniels, after coming out looking like an MVP candidate, sputtering a little bit in the last 2 weeks. Where are we at, Pop? Where are the vibes?
I think a lot's going to depend on this next game, I think. To be honest, it's a perfect setup, but it's kind of how I feel. We got to take care of business against the Cowboys. I think I said it after the Eagles game. It's all out in front of us still.
Agreed.
We get a rematch against the Eagles in week 16. We got a bye still coming, some good rest. We got a little bit of good rest before this game, kind of a soft part of the schedule. It's all right there in front of us. So, the great thing about sports is there's a scoreboard, right? We're not going to have to wonder for too much longer. Can't believe It's week 12 already.
Insane. I mean, it's such a shame. It's such a fun season. I think this is a season I hope we'll all look back on pretty fondly by the time it's all said and done, and just really kind of crazy to be like, hey, it's over. Like, it's not over, but we're getting to that point where it's like, wow, like it's really starting to get down to brass tacks. It's all fun and games blowing out the Browns in week 5, and now all of a sudden 7-4, got to fight to get back in the race for the division, and got to keep pace to get in that wild card slot.
I think people that want to make it seem like the wheels are coming off the cart. These were 2 games that Steelers game. Look at what the Steelers did to the Ravens, right? I mean, we were right there.
Sure.
And had a real opportunity there. And even I maintain against the Eagles, I mean, midway through the fourth quarter, we were right there with an opportunity to 2nd and 1. So, you can argue in both cases the better team won, but I don't think it's like we got blown out of the building, right? And where, we should just be distraught about where we are with this team. So
I'm with you.
Take a deep breath, people.
I think it's, obviously the post-game pods are a little more for reaction and getting it off our chest, and then we're kind of back here after this mini bye, kind of recalibrating. At the end of the day, I'm chilling. I think my vibes are pretty good. I'm not too worried about where we're at overall. I mean, we're 7-4. Never thought we'd be here. Nobody really planned on us being here. We're excited to be here. I think, saying that maybe after a tough loss on Thursday Night Football against a division opponent doesn't feel so great right in that moment, but coming off perspective, mini bye week, we got Dallas coming up, and we have an opportunity to really write our own fate here. That's really what it comes down to, is we could play these Dallas Cowboys. We beat the Cowboys this weekend, right the ship, kind of get things trending back in the right direction. So speaking of trending back in the right direction, Dan Quinn jumped out today with a pretty strong statement about number 5, Jaden Daniels, our most important player for this team, for the long run, for today, for tomorrow, for hopefully the next 10 years. Dan Quinn comes out and says, quote, "I want to start off early by saying Jaden Daniels is not injured now." So he jumped right into it at the press conference, wanted to get it out of the way early, didn't want to answer a million questions about Jaden's ribs. Pop, react to that for me. Let me know how you're feeling about that.
I feel a couple of different ways. I mean, I find it probably hard to believe medically that his ribs are completely pain-free. I think there's probably subtlety in what he's saying, in the sense that I never really thought that Jaden was so much. We talked about it from the beginning. We're not doctors, right?
Sure.
But that it's much more of a pain tolerance thing than it's like a limiting thing that's limiting him from, being able to throw the ball. It's more of a thing that obviously if your ribs hurt, you don't want to take a shot to him or risk getting them hurt worse. So I think it was speeding him up and maybe creating some hesitation. Hopefully he's much, much, much better. I think that's probably the case. But I definitely think it's been affecting him. Your eyes see what they see, right? He was also affected by two really great defenses.
Yeah.
Right?
So I tweeted
I mean,
this
there's no
out.
question about it, but you could also clearly see that it was impacting him. Maybe, Dan Quinn's point was lack of practice time, lack of rhythm, and all those things certainly impact a young player. But so.
Speaking of young players being impacted, my goodness.
What do you got to say, Carlo?
We got a fiery little guy in the background of the pod here. I don't know if he's jumping through, but he's juiced up. I mean, as if I didn't just play with him for an hour and take him on a long walk. He's still got some left in the tank, I guess. So
that's a mascot on the pod. So that's
pardon us if things get a little fiery here. The best thing I can do is not acknowledge them and keep it pushing here. But yeah, so the whole thing with the ribs, I tweeted it out yesterday. I said you would rather have a quarterback who ran into two top 5 defenses and has had to take a little bit of a step back. I mean, look at what Lamar did against Pittsburgh. Lamar has been the darling of the NFL and been playing amazing, been the best quarterback in football this year by any stretch of an imagination. He certainly didn't have a phenomenal day against Tomlin. This is what happens when you play great defenses. This is what happens with quarterbacks. No matter how good they are, they stutter. Brady had bad days. Manning had bad days. It's going to happen. And so I would rather personally have a quarterback that has just stumbled a little bit in a couple weeks, knowing that guy is Jaden Daniels and knowing what we know about his character, that he's going to shake back. He's going to get it right. He's still fighting those ribs, right? I would rather have that quarterback scenario than another situation where we have a quarterback who he might be hurt, he might not be hurt. I mean, it is just absolute mayhem back here right now. This guy's doing donuts. But we got a situation where we got a quarterback that might be hurt, might not be hurt. I would much rather have the first situation, which is the situation that sounds like is being outlined for us now, is look, Jaden stumbled a little bit. He's going to shake back. He's going to get it back. It's not exactly what we planned on. But he's going to move forward. He's good now. He's healthy. I'd much rather have that than the is he hurt? Is he not hurt? All that dissonance. I think a lot of fans are using the injury as an excuse to cope with the fact that Jaden didn't play very well the last couple weeks. It's just the facts. He was inaccurate in moments where he needed to be more accurate. He wasn't quite, as specifically against the Eagles, it was a lot of dump offs. He was a little hesitant on letting go of the ball, but that's gonna happen.
There were still some
cold weather, Thursday Night Football, November. He's a rookie. It's okay, guys. It's okay.
There were still some really good moments, though. I mean, I go back to the Steelers game and the back-to-back touchdown drives to end the half and to begin the second half. I think that drive, like I keep referring back to it, but he was getting out the ball quick with power, with confidence, and then 2nd and 1, we can't convert on 3 running plays. So I still think he had some really good moments. But I think it's pretty crazy, and I'm not going to overreact to it, but it's pretty crazy. Some of the chatter out there is Bo Nix better? Is Drake May better? I don't think anybody's tooting Caleb's hurting too much, but let me finish my point. I'm not going to worry about it because at the end of the day, it's got to get resolved on the field. It doesn't matter if I sit here for the next 30 minutes and just rant about how I think Jaden's the best rookie quarterback out there. Doesn't matter. He's got to go out and play these last 6 games and play the best football of his season these last 6 games. And if he does that, all that other stuff will take care of itself. So it doesn't really matter to me. I think that, I don't see how a guy can go making the kind of elite throws that he made against the Giants and the Bears and some of those other things to all of a sudden, he's not, the league is caught up to him. I just don't agree with that because it doesn't match his skill set We've seen him throw really well from the pocket. We've seen him throw in good timing. And look, it's the classic thing. I'll just end it with this because I could go on for a while on this. The quarterback always gets too much blame when you lose and probably a little too much credit when you win.
100%.
He was not the only one that played poorly, if you want to even say he played poorly against the Eagles.
Well, just look at the PFF ratings on the offensive and defensive line. If you want to talk about who played poorly against the Eagles, I said it at the time of the pod. We got walloped on both sides of the football in the trenches there, and the numbers certainly reflect it. I would be willing to bet even the best quarterbacks ever, when you lose that badly on the line of scrimmage, probably don't have great records. So definitely a lot.
Great point. Great point.
A lot to break down there. But
we're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Dallas. I'll just say it. It says it on the outline, must win, ? I think this is absolutely a must win. I think because of the caliber of Dallas team and the type of spiral that they're having right now, and I'll let you give your take after this, of course. But just the way this Dallas team is just spiraling out of control, if you go in there and you do anything other than win confidently, I'm talking our last win against the Giants or better, if you do anything less than that, I think we start to have some real what's going on, the sky is falling. God forbid you lose that game. Things start to look real scary about where things started off this season and where we're at now. Then you're at a 3-game losing streak with the Tennessee coming up in the bye. You wanna win this game against Dallas. I mean, they're terrible, man. They're terrible. So I think this is a must win for sure.
Without a doubt, a must win. Go lose 3 straight.
2 in the division.
7-5.
Yeah.
Lose to what appears to be a very, very bad Cowboys team. Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
No running backs to speak of. It would be really bad. And I agree with you. I think to really get rid of the noise, I mean, winning is winning. They win by 1 point, they win. But to really get rid of the noise, I think, and rebuild that confidence, you want to win impressively too. And I think I had a pretty big oversight on this outline. I didn't even put the point spread on here. I will find that
9.5 or 10.
I will find that real quick. But obviously we're big favorites, and we'll pick the game later. But I mean, I think winning impressively is something that would be pretty important as well. I mean, watch the Monday night game. The Cowboys put up a fight for into the second half. But you can see it's kind of what happens to bad teams. It just can't hold up, and it got to be a runaway win for the Texans. So I agree. Yeah. Absolute must win. If anyone disagrees with that, I would love to hear your rationale for that.
So early odds were 10-point favorite for the Commanders. As of today on Tuesday, looking at DraftKings here, they are 10.5-point favorites. Minus 575 on the money line. I have never seen that
against the Cowboys.
It's nuts. I mean, Cooper Rush is at quarterback. I think the last time we played them and Rush was quarterback, we beat them by like 30 points. We whooped them. That was the Antonio Gibson game on Thanksgiving. That was 4 years ago now, which is just wild. Feels like it's a different world. But yeah, it's a must win against Dallas. I think we're all on the same page here just because they're so terrible. God forbid you lose this game. It's like, what do you even do? But getting into the Dallas scouting report, it's time to get right. This defense is 27th in the NFL in yards per game allowed, 31st in points per game allowed, averaging 151 yards per game on the ground on offense, which is 31st, and not great versus the path either, as Mike Tyson would say. We'll get in a little Tyson later. 19th in the league versus the pass, 215 yards per game, and a lot of what contributes to that pass rating is the fact that teams are just toting the ball on them and they get up early and then they don't have to throw the ball.
Right.
So that'll help that stat as well. They're awful. It's almost like they lost their defensive mastermind in the offseason, and they hired a guy who hasn't had a top third of the league defense in decades to replace him, and then ran a whole thing about how, ran to the media and said all these things about how the guy that they lost, he wasn't really doing what needed to be done on the defense anyways, and yeah, go ahead. Ask Micah Parsons how he feels about playing for Dan Quinn versus this new guy. See what he has to say about that. So offensively, they're averaging 18.7 points per game. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dak Prescott sucked before he got hurt. And then he got hurt. And now they got Cooper Rush, who's also not so great. They also can't run the football for squat. They got nothing going on at running back. I mean, passed on signing Derrick Henry, who wanted to go play there. Let him go to the Baltimore Ravens. Now I got to hear from Ravens fans about Derrick Henry. Thanks, Dallas. And Dallas can't run the football. So just...
I think I'd rather have Derrick Henry in Baltimore.
I would too.
Much as you hate the Ravens. Too. I don't want him in the division.
I just think he wouldn't contribute as much to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would still stink if they had Henry. But either way.
We talk about vibe checks. There's just bad vibes there, right?
From disaster.
Coaching to the locker room to how Jara runs things. I mean, not to steal from your thunder on the scouting report, but they've got some talent, right? They've got some scary talent. CD
Crazy
Lamb,
talent.
Micah Parsons.
Deron Bland,
if there's something Diggs. Scares you about this game, and yeah, you need to finish your thing. It's that, right? Is that if a couple of those guys catch fire, and there could be big plays made, there can be a couple of other things, but the motivation or the body language on those guys just isn't really good at all right now.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, I'll close my scouting report with this. I think it's fair to say that the recipe's out on how to beat Washington at this point. We've got 4 losses, all of some pretty good teams. I think the recipe's out. You got to be able to run the ball on us a lot, and you've got to stop us from running the ball, and you've got to bring a lot of pressure to Jaden and speed Jaden up quickly. The Cowboys ain't good at doing any of those things. So I'm not too concerned.
There aren't that many teams that can do all of those things really well to the effectiveness of the last couple that we've played.
The 4 that have done it have beat us, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's the recipe so far, and I don't really trust Dallas to do that. And even if they do, I think we're still better. We'll win. So let's get into it here. 3 keys to a win. Key number 1, very simple. Reestablish that run game with Brian Robinson and Jaden Daniels. Get that zone read moving. I think that's going to be really important, getting back to that. Jaden Daniels not injured. Very clearly said that. Had text with Cliff saying he wants to get his legs back involved. He wants to get running again. Okay, if that's the case, let's get it going. I could still do without some of those quarterback power calls. Seems to be those are always the ones he takes the worst hits on. But I'd like to reestablish the run game, and I'm going to add little asterisks to this. Let's reestablish that screen game too. Where is the screen game? The screen game is gone in the last couple of weeks, and maybe it's because teams are keying on where they see it and what situation. So maybe we need to do a better job of mixing that in and keeping teams honest. But it went from it felt like every screen got us 25 yards to we can't throw a screen pass for the life of us anymore. We don't throw them, and when we do throw them, the defense is keyed on them. So let's get that going back up again. Second key, big plays down the field. We got to get the ball to Terry, and who else, Pop? Who else do you think we get that ball to? It's a little tricky, but we got to get some big plays going.
Yeah, the weapons, I think, and receiver crew is definitely a position to need. There are some people arguing it's our biggest position to need now that we've got Marshawn Lattimore. We'll see if he makes an appearance this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a dynamic receiver is probably high on the list of whether you're going to call it number 1 or not. I think it's really high on the list. I still would like to address the offensive line as a priority personally, and we've got time for maybe in the bye week to do a bit of self-scouting. We'll even self-scout the pod. What can we do better?
Let us
But
know in the
anyway, yeah. I
comments.
mean, who's going to be those playmakers? I mean, Eckler's does some really nice things at times, but at the receiver position, you got Terry, and then and Dan Quinn's even said it, and you got Terry and a bunch of other guys, right? And Brown's looked really good at times. He's about really the only one that's consistently looked good.
Noah Brown, not De'Ami Brown.
Noah Brown.
You're talking about.
Yeah, Noah Brown. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking Diami.
I just realized they're both named Brown.
Yeah, but anyway, but we've had some games where we've been, against better teams in Dallas, where we've been pretty effective at spreading the ball around and, getting guys touches. And let's get back to that this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really what it's going to be. I think it's going to just be about spreading that ball around, getting the ball out of Jaden's hands fast, neutralizing whatever
plays,
rush we do try and bring, and getting some big plays. Just make this team quit, because they will quit. And I think that's where key number 3 comes in, which is start fast on defense. Let's bring the pressure on Cooper Rush early and often. I think this defense is kind of just good enough to keep you in it versus good teams and really run over bad teams. I think that's what we've seen at this point in the year. I think that's where the defense is like they'll make a few stops or hold a couple guys to field goals against good teams, give you a chance to shoot out with them. And against bad teams, they've been running defenses over, running guys over. So hopefully we continue that trend, pressure Cooper Rush early and often, and take that ball away. Put me down for a Mike Sanderstill interception. Mikey Sanderstill has been phenomenal. He had AJ Brown in jail last week, man.
I tell you what, I like what I'm seeing from this defense.
Yeah,
I do. I feel like you brought up Sanderstill, right? Here's a kid that was clearly finding his way as a rookie.
Yeah,
those first few weeks, and to go up against AJ Brown, he's supposed to be a slot corner and play as well as he did, and our corners in general, because Sanderstill almost stepped into that Lattimore role.
Yeah.
Right? You would have thought St. Juice would have been covering Brown. So I think I like what I've been seeing with this defense. I like what the line's been doing. I like the pressure we've been getting. Luvu and Wagner. I mean, Dan Quinn mentioned the story about how he took Wagner out of the game and Wagner stared him down. He could tell how angry he was. Like, the guy has found the fountain of youth. And yeah, he's not the fastest player in the world, but he plays with intensity. And Luvu makes up for that. They're playing so well that McGee can't even get on the field.
And we liked what we saw from him in training camp.
We liked what we saw from him. So, and Dan Quinn addressed that as well. So it's, I think if you add that piece with Lattimore, like I said, I like what I'm seeing from this defense. It's really unfortunate. Like, we've missed out a little bit on that complementary football where early in the season, defense was more of the problem, but the offense was just scoring at a record pace. Now, if we can get that offense to pick up, I'm not, especially against Dallas, I'm not too concerned about the defense. I think they're going to take care of business. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think
they're on the rise.
They'll get it done. I like what I've seen from a lot of this unit. I think Sanderstill was going back and forth with a couple guys on Twitter about it a couple weeks ago. I was saying before the game against Philly, I was a big advocate for we got to move him back inside. Now that we have Lattimore, move Juice to the other side, Sanderstill back inside, get him back playing in position, and he's going to explode. And now, with the way he's been playing outside and what he's shown in the last couple of weeks, I'm wondering, I'm like, maybe he is in position on the outside. Maybe in this defense on the outside, you can't ask for much better, and I think you can do a lot worse when you look across the NFL than a healthy Marshawn Lattimore and the way Sanderstill has been playing as your two cornerback duo, and you can kind of rotate Juiced and Igbenogany in the slot. I think you do a lot worse than that, and hopefully that's what we see on Sunday. I don't know what exactly the reports are with Marshawn right now. They're saying they're hoping he can be back to practice this week, which means maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. But we shall see, man. We shall see. You ready to get into the Bada Bets, Pop?
Just some words of wisdom from Pop. Just a moment of wisdom, right?
Please.
From the old guy. I've always told you this. I've always coached you this, whether it comes to work, life, team sports, whatever. Attitude and work rate can go a long way for making up for things like size and maybe some other athletic abilities that are lacking. That dude has such great attitude and such great work rate and such great determination, along with a lot of talent, that I agree with you. I don't think you need to limit him in his role, So,
Yeah,
big Sanistril fans here.
I agree with you. I love the kid, man. I got nothing but good things to say about him. I am so excited as to what the core of this young defense is and where things can head in the next next couple of years with what we're building. So that's I think is no better way to wrap up this Commanders segment than that. Let's whoop some Cowboy Culo. Now we don't have it in here for the Bada Bets. I don't think it's going to be an official Bada Bets pick, but you all know we always start off our Bada Bets segment with picking the Commanders game for this week. So, without further ado, do we cover 10.5 points against the Dallas Cowboys, Pop? What do you think?
I got to pick our boys. That's a lot of points.
I
would not be upset if we won by 9.
Yeah.
I would say that's a decisive enough win for me, but I'll go with the homer pick, and like we've almost done every week, I think, and pick the Commanders and the points.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going with the Commanders as well here. I mean, this is one of those things. If I looked at like the Jaguars and who's the best in that division right now, the Colts or something like that, that's probably wrong. I don't pay attention to the AFC North all that much. But if I looked at like a division game with all these points, I'd probably pick the points most times, but I just can't find myself rooting for the boys to keep it any closer. So I'm going Commanders for sure.
Yeah, I think also, like, we've done a good job, maybe with the exception of the Bears, but when the Bears came in, those were two pretty even teams going at it. The Bears have kind of fallen apart a bit since then.
Yeah.
But I think I think the Eagles' performance wasn't very good. I think we were a tired, beat up football team and just didn't have it that night. But if we play as well as we did against the Steelers, I think we win by 10.5 or more. And that wasn't our best performance. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I think there's some logic in taking the points and saying we're going to cover that.
I'd be surprised if they scored more than like 14. And I think we're going to score 24 or more.
Let's put up 40.
So there it is. Yeah, I would love to put up 40. I would love to. Let's get into the official Bada Bets for this week, though. Last week I was 3-2. Pop was 2-3. So that puts me at 34-23 for the year. 11 games over 500.
Fire.
Pop is 29-28 for the year. So Pop's still sticking in above 500 there. Now, Pop did whoop my culo in fantasy football. So that helps. I'm sure that helps Pop feel a little bit better about that Bada Bets record.
1 week probably, but
Pop's team was absolutely terrible, and he pulled it together, man. This is what Pop does, man. He doesn't draft great, but he's a demon on the waiver wire, and he brings it through. So, Ron Rivera in the draft room, but Adam Peters on the waiver wire. We need a little more Adam Peters in the draft room.
Wasn't as bad as what was rated. A lot of guys that I drafted are contributing quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and a lot of guys that were contributing quite a bit for me are doing Ugats now, so that helps. Thankfully, Mac Jones is in at quarterback for Brian Thomas Jr. That's really good for me. Anyways, let's get into it, man. Thursday Night Football, Steelers versus the Browns. Steelers 3.5-point favorites on the road here. What do you like there, Pop?
Picking against Steelers hasn't gone well for me. I'm gonna go Steelers. I know the Browns showed some spark offensively, but their defense seems to be falling apart. They might be in tank mode.
Yeah.
I'll go Steelers.
Yeah, give me the Steelers as well here. I think Browns are in tank mode, although I do love a little Jameis Winston and division game at home, getting the points. but I think look at what Mike Tomlin did to Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson in these last 2 weeks. I'm not too worried about him finding some flaws in Winston's game and exploiting them. Definitely take the Steelers there for sure. Vikings 3.5-point favorites at the Bears. What do you like there, Pop?
I gotta go Vikings.
Yeah, Bears team just feels snake bit, don't they?
Yeah.
Definitely going Vikings as well here. Sunday, 4:25, you've got the the 49ers at the Packers. Packers 2.5-point favorites here. This is a line that you would not have believed if you heard it in September, but that's where we're at. What do you like, Pop?
I got to go Packers at home. It's an interesting, the 49ers, there's noise about Shanahan, believe it or not, which won't take him long to find another job if that's seriously an issue. But yeah, there's noise. There's noise out there about Mikey and their 500 football team, 5-5. They're hurting. It's tough to go into Green Bay and play and win. It's probably starting to get a little chilly there. I'll go with the Pack.
Yeah,
it's less than a field goal.
I hate this. I hate betting against the Packers at Lambeau this time of year, but I got a tingle about the 49ers, and I got some room to get weird, so I'm going to take the 49ers here.
All right,
I just got a tingle. I just got a tingle. It feels like a bad pick. The Packers have made me a lot of pretend money so far this season, but I'm gonna rock with the.
You know what they
49ers
say
here.
When you get that tingle, sometimes your pockets jingle.
Yeah,
come on, sometimes it's a better slogan than that. FanDuel or MGM or whatever, man. Hook the boys up.
Yeah, a lot of times when I get the tingle, my pockets jingle because I'm shaking them empty because I just lost some money. But anyways, Sunday Night Football, we got the Eagles -3 at the Rams. What do you think here, Pop?
I'm going Rams.
I thought
about this one before the pod. I think the Rams are a little inconsistent, but they've played some good football at time this year. They've gotten healthier at the receiver position. They're at home. That's a long trip cross country. Probably going to regret this one, but I got the tingle on the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams here as well. I think the Eagles. I think we win.
We broke them.
I think we win. No, I think we win. I think we win this weekend. I think the Eagles lose.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
I think everybody goes
tingling. In places I can't mention on the podcast.
Spot on. All right, Monday Night Football, Ravens -3. Good God, Pop. All right. Subscribe to the Dom Pop Patreon to find out where. All right, Ravens -3 at the Chargers. This is a tough one. I know Pop's going to pick the Ravens. That's not even a question.
It hasn't been working out for me.
No,
but you're right. I'll tip my hand. I'm going Ravens.
In the pregame meeting, Pop's giving me a hard time, and I'm like, Dad, I don't think I've missed a pick on the Ravens this year. I've picked them a couple times and picked against them. You're
picking the Chargers. Let's just get this over with.
I genuinely don't know what to do here. I think the Chargers' record's a little overinflated. I think the Ravens are a little under. They're better than what the record shows, but the Ravens have a tendency to play down to teams. They just blew out the Broncos, though. The Broncos
they're not going to play.
I mean,
Chargers aren't going to be a team to play down for, too. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people picking the Chargers this week.
Chargers are 7-3. Like, the Chargers are the most under-talked about really good team in football this year.
But I don't think
talk about them.
I don't think there's any chance the Ravens overlook the Chargers. What I do worry about is, do they have any juice left after getting beat up pretty good by the Steelers and having to travel cross country? Like, that's where I would worry a little bit, but they're not going to overlook them.
Yeah, that's my thing is, like, you're traveling across country, you're playing on the road. Now, you want to talk about just a bad road and, like, not a great home field advantage. I think the Chargers probably have the friendliest road environment you can have in the NFL. But yeesh, man, I don't know. I'll take the Chargers only because they're getting points.
And you hate
But
the Ravens.
It's a tough. I really don't know where to go here. It's a really tough. This is a tough pick. But I'm gonna take the Chargers because F it. Weird stuff happens in November.
All right,
But
there you have it.
that's our Bada Bets. So guys, let us know what your picks are in the
Tell
comments.
Dominic,
Roll along with us.
make you some money.
The math would say to tail me. I did take a couple picks against the system here, but the system. The point of the system is that there is no system. That's rule number 1, right? There are no rules. That's most important. So, what do you say we wrap this thing up, Pop? I think it's been a solid little effort here, guys. Without
I'll
further
put one
ado,
up for Carlo, settling
oh
down,
my God,
getting it together.
little man was doing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the little man was doing donuts at the bottom of the frame, and now.
Anytime you see Dominic distracted on a podcast, he's usually got Carlo sitting duty.
I got
There
Carlo, otherwise known as Rigo. Carlo, say what's up, bud. Yeah. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We got our left hands up. Without further ado, guys, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, everybody, and hail to the Commanders.
Hail.